got a great locker room. We've got great kids in our locker room, and we think we've got a lot of good players, and not just the guys that are here that get drafted. We've got a lot of good players that are returning from last year's team, and we've got a lot of good players coming in that weren't drafted tonight in the first round. And it's just it was a great night for these guys as individuals, and it was a great night for BU.
I couldn't be more excited for a year of hockey. I think that as a team, the sky's the limit for us. As soon as September hits and everyone's back in school, I'm hoping that we can, click really, really quickly and, build a lot of good team chemistry, and then just, get the ball rolling as soon as the season starts in October.
And welcome back to college hockey. Now we're previewing the upcoming season in the Hockey East, and you just heard Charlie McAvoy of BU drafted into the Boston Bruins system, as well as Coach David Quinn excited about the returning players on his Terriers roster. Now, how will that play out? Well, that's why we have former Boston Terrier himself and Stanley Cup champion Colby Cohen on the program. Colby, McAvoy, among many others, back. What can we expect from your alma mater?
Well, they do have a loaded roster this year. I mean, there is no shortage of talent. And sometimes when you have a team full of first, second round picks, so much talent, it can be a little bit challenging getting guys on the same page. But playing for David Quinn as long as I did, I played for him in college at the professional levels. There's no one better at managing the personalities and the egos as David Quinn. So I think look for BU to be a really, really strong team this year. They will be young, so you never know when you have a lot of highly touted freshmen, but I think they will be very talented.
All right, now last season, half of the conference was in the NCAA tournament. With that said, who do you see this season slipping out of a possible berth?
Well, Hockey East is always a great conference. It's been that way well before I played, but when I played, I remember there was no off nights in Hockey East. No out-of-hand scores, no high-scoring games, no point night, as you might want to call it, as a player. When you're playing the 12th place team, you're still going to get a hard-fought game. So I'm not sure who's going to fall out this year, Jorge, to be totally honest with you. But I think UConn will make some noise. I think BC lost a lot of guys this year. They're going to have some figuring out to do early, but I do think, as always, they'll put it together and they'll be a threat late in the year. Greg Brown, Jerry York, those guys do a great job with their recruiting. So even though they have that mass exodus this year, I think they'll still be at the top of the list.
You mentioned BC last season. BC made it all the way to the semifinals. How do you evaluate the team coming back and trying to make another run at it this year?
Well, I think they had 6 underclassmen who left early, which is a lot of guys to recover from. You start bringing guys in who might not be ready, maybe weren't on your radar as much, but it's going to give a lot of guys who maybe we didn't hear from last year an opportunity to step up and play bigger minutes. Matty Gaudreau, he's going to get more ice time. He's going to play a bigger role. Guys like him, guys coming back. But I think BC will be okay. Again, they're always a good team. They always find a way. They get good recruits. No matter who leaves, they're always a good team.
All right, let's talk about that bottom half of the Hockey East now. Who do you see from this group making the most progress coming into this season?
Well, I think that you're going to see UConn and UMass make a push this year. UMass Amherst, they bring in Greg Carvel from St. Lawrence. He's a coach that will probably have NHL teams knocking on his door to be a coach for them at some point. He's coached in the World Championships for the United States. He's a really, really great hockey mind. The players respect him a lot. I spoke with him a few times last year when he was with St. Lawrence, and his players, they really want to go through a wall for him. So I think they're going to make a big push. Then I think UConn. This is their 4th or 5th year. They're starting to come on. They're starting to get some more talented players. Their staff is getting very familiar with each other. I think they're another team. They're ready to take the next step.
A lot of people hot on UConn making a hot end to the season last year. Now, we can't talk Hockey East Conference without talking about the battle on ComAv. Giving the returning starters for both BC and BU, who do you see having an edge this year, Colby?
Well, it's hard for me to ever pick against BU, especially when we're talking about BC, right? But I think BU is going to have the slight edge going into this season, but don't sleep on BC. I'm telling you right now, no matter how many players they lose, they always do a great job of finding talent. Guys that no other school wanted, BC brings them in, and then they end up scoring 100 points over the course of 4 years. And you really got to give Greg Brown the credit there, who's their associate head coach and does a lot of their recruiting. So I think BU, I'm going to give the slight edge to, but it's going to be hard for me to ever pick against BC. I mean, they're a great team and a great program, and they got all the championships to prove it.
That's why that rivalry is always a toss-up. Finally, Colby, put you on the spot here. Who wins the conference this season and why?
I'm going to have to go with BU. With all the talented freshmen they're bringing in, David Quinn is a phenomenal coach. He's great at managing personalities. He's great at working with defensemen. They have some very talented defensemen. I think Charlie McAvoy is going to be up for the Hobey Baker this year. He's a phenomenal player. It's hard to find any weakness in his game. I think you're going to see some of these young freshman kids hungry to come in and make an impact. I will say they have a lot of talent. They've got a good staff, from their equipment guys all the way to their strength coaches. They do things right there at BU. So I'm going to go ahead and give BU the edge on the conference this year.
All eyes on BU, Charlie McAvoy, David Quinn, and also the rest of the Hockey East. The 2016 season right around the corner. Helping us preview the upcoming season in the conference, he is Stanley Cup champion, former NHL and BU defenseman, Colby Cohen. Thanks, Colby.
Thanks, guys.